Fragment, Chapter 1. What Remains? The boy opened his eyes to green. Not the green of anything he could name. Just green, everywhere, in every direction, stacked so high it swallowed the sky. Trees so tall he couldn't see where they ended. Thick undergrowth below. The smell of wet dirt and something old. Like a forest that had never once been walked through. He was on his back. He didn't know how long. He sat up slowly. His body hurt all over. The deep kind of hurt that comes from something recent and bad. But nothing was broken. No blood he could see. His clothes were in one piece. Gray shirt, dark pants, boots laced tight. Whoever he'd been before waking up here, he'd known how to dress for moving. He looked at his hands. No rings. No scars. Nothing that told him anything. He pressed 2 fingers to his neck. Pulse steady. He breathed in through his nose, out through his mouth. Both worked. He checked himself the way you'd check a room you'd never been in before. Going through each thing one at a time. No rush, no panic. Name. Nothing. Age? Young. The hands looked young. How did I get here? Silence. Not the kind where you almost remember something. The kind where there's just nothing at all. Like the memory had never been there to begin with. He stood. The forest gave him nothing to work with. The light came from everywhere at once, broken up by so many layers of leaves that he couldn't tell which direction the sun was. No shadows to read, no landmarks. He picked a direction. Downhill, once the ground started to slope. Water runs downhill. People build near water. He didn't know where those facts came from, but they felt solid. He walked. The forest was quiet in a way that didn't sit right. He noticed it after 10 minutes. Birds, but far off. Nothing close. No sounds in the bushes that weren't him. Like everything had backed away and was staying back. He stopped, stood still, listened. The birds went quiet. Then he heard it, a sound like breathing. But the rhythm was wrong, too slow, like a pair of bellows pumping in and out. Each breath pushed at the air in a way he felt in his chest, more than heard in his ears. He turned toward it. 20 meters away, between 2 massive trees, something crouched. Big as a large dog. That's where the comparison ended. The legs were too long. The head was too wide. Its skin was dark gray and rough, like dried bark. 4 blank eyes. A mouth with too many angles in it, even closed. It was watching him. He didn't run. Running was the wrong move, not because he wasn't scared, but because scared wasn't useful right now. The creature was crouched with its weight forward and low. A runner's stance. When it came, it would come straight. He scanned fast. Left. A fallen tree, waist height. Right. Open ground. Nothing for 30 meters. Behind him, the long way back, giving the creature the most room to build speed. Left. The fallen tree. He shifted his weight just enough. The creature's front leg tensed. He ran. It was faster than it looked. He heard it closing ground behind him. 4 legs in a rhythm with 1 beat too many. He didn't look back. He already knew what mattered. Close and gaining. The trunk came up fast. He planted and vaulted. The creature couldn't stop. It hit the trunk hard. He heard the crack. Its rhythm broke. He spun around. 3 meters away. It shook its head once, then locked those 4 blank eyes back on him. 2 seconds. He used them. Head led the body when it ran. Neck stretched forward. The underside, darker, smoother. No thick bark skin there. He filed it. The creature lunged. He stepped left and took the hit on his shoulder instead of his chest. Massive force. It spun him and threw him 2 meters. He hit the ground already rolling, came up on his feet before it had even landed. Shoulder hurt badly. Still worked. The creature turned. Slower. It hadn't expected him to be standing. He stopped moving. Turned to face it. Stood still. If my timing's wrong, it kills me. If it's right, it doesn't. He dropped into a stance he didn't remember learning, and waited. It came at him like a thrown spear. In that last half-second, something happened that he had no words for. Not a thought, not instinct exactly. Something between the two. His body moved on its own. Left foot back, weight dropping. Right arm sweeping up low, not to block, to guide it past. The creature shot by his left side, neck stretched forward, underside exposed for exactly the moment he'd known it would be. His hand found the neck, fingers locked. He used its own speed, turned, and drove it into the ground. The forest floor shook. For a second, nothing moved. Then it erupted, all 4 legs thrashing. One caught his leg and tore through fabric and skin both. He held on. He pushed down with everything he had. The thrashing slowed, stopped. The creature went still, eyes blank. The wrong breathing, gone. The boy sat back and exhaled. Then it fell apart. No sound, no warning. The creature just started losing its shape at the edges. The rough skin softening, breaking apart, rising in tiny glowing pieces. Particles. The word arrived from nowhere and landed solid. The body kept dissolving until there was nothing left but a slow drift of faint light moving up through the still air between the trees. He watched it rise. Then he felt it. Warmth, starting at his skin and spreading inward, moving through him the way sunlight moves through water. Filling spaces he hadn't known were empty. When it faded, the tear on his leg had started to close. His shoulder hurt less. Something was different in how the world looked. The bark on a tree 30 meters away was sharper than before. The shadows had more depth, like someone had turned a dial. Small, he thought, but real. He stood and looked at his hands again. And then, without thinking, without trying, without understanding what he was doing, he turned his right palm upward. A small flame appeared in the center of it. Quiet, steady, about the size of a coin, orange at the base, yellow at the tip, with a faint blue edge that came and went. It sat there in his open hand, like it had always been there, like it belonged to him. He stared at it. It didn't burn him. It didn't feel like heat from outside. It felt like something from inside, rising to the surface, the way a word rises when you almost remember it. Then it went out, gentle, like a candle in a closed room. He closed his hands slowly. What was that? No answer, just the quiet forest, and the fading warmth of something ancient settling into his bones. He retied his boot, cleaned the cut on his leg with dew from a wide leaf, and kept walking. He almost missed them. He'd been following the slope downhill for maybe an hour when he heard it. Metal hitting stone, dull and rhythmic, coming through the trees to his right. Then voices low and quick. He slowed down, moved off the path, stayed behind the tree line. Through the undergrowth he could see a small clearing. Half buried in the ground at the center was something that didn't belong. A flat stone slab, covered in old carvings, cracked down the middle. The kind of thing that had been there for a very long time. 4 of them worked around it. 2 boys, 2 girls. Around his age, maybe a year older. Rough clothes patched in multiple places. Small picks and brushes and canvas bags worn soft from use. They were cleaning the dirt from the carvings with care, talking in short sentences. Scavengers. The word came to him, the same way the others had, arriving with meaning already attached. He watched them. Then the carvings caught his eye. Even from this distance, the shapes were familiar in a way he couldn't explain. Not like he'd seen them before, more like they matched something already inside him. He stepped out from the trees without deciding to. One of the girls spotted him first. She went still, said one word to the others, short and sharp, and the whole group stopped and turned. 4 pairs of eyes. Cautious. Unfriendly. The taller of the 2 boys stepped forward. He had a short iron rod in one hand, the kind that could be a tool or a weapon depending on what you needed. He looked the boy up and down. The torn pants, the dried blood, the look of someone who had just been in a fight. "Which crew?" he said. The boy opened his mouth, closed it. He had no answer for that. The group read his silence wrong. The tall boy's grip tightened. "New crew moving in on our site," said one of the girls. Not a question. "Already." "I'm not," the boy started. He took one step toward the stone slab without meaning to, toward the carvings that his hands already seemed to know the shape of, even if his memory didn't. That was the wrong move. "Hey! Wait!" Nobody waited. They weren't fighters. He could tell within the first few seconds. The tall boy swung the iron rod wide, too wide, putting himself off balance before it connected. One of the others rushed in from the side but hesitated at the last moment, which was the worst thing you could do. The remaining 2 hung back. He didn't want to hurt them. He moved between their strikes more than against them, stepping back, redirecting, letting them tire themselves out. The tall boy swung again. He stepped inside it, got a hand on the boy's wrist, stopped the rod dead. They stared at each other. "I'm not from another crew," he said quietly. "I don't know what crew means." The tall boy blinked. "I woke up in the forest this morning. That's all I know." A beat of silence. Then the tall boy pulled his wrist back and stepped away. Something passed between the 4 of them that the boy couldn't read. The girl who had spoken first looked at his leg, the tear in his pants, the half-closed wound. "That's a bark wolf bite," she said. "Is that what it was?" "You killed it?" A beat. "Alone?" He didn't answer. The 4 of them glanced at the forest behind him like they were looking for something, then back at him. Then, without another word, all 4 of them picked up their tools and bags and left. Just like that. Moving fast, not looking back. He stood alone in the clearing. He looked down at the stone slab. The carvings were clearer up close. Old script, some kind of language, running around the edge of a circular design. And inside the circle, at the center, a shape he recognized immediately, though he couldn't say why. A flame. Small, clean, carved by someone who had known exactly what they were drawing. He crouched and brushed the last of the dirt away. His fingers moved over the carved lines automatically, tracing the shape before his mind caught up with what his hand was doing. He made himself stop, stood up, looked at it one more time. Then he walked. He was 2 hours down the slope when they found him again. More footsteps this time, heavier, moving from multiple directions through the trees with purpose, not care. Something that didn't mind being heard. He stopped walking. They came out of the trees in a loose half-circle. The 4 scavengers from the clearing. And behind them, someone new. Older. Maybe 19, 20. Tall and broad, built from years of hard work. A long coat over rough clothes, one sleeve pushed up to show a dark mark running from wrist to elbow. A brand or a tattoo, the boy couldn't tell from here. Hands empty at his sides. He looked at the boy the way you look at a problem you've already decided how to solve. "That's him," the tall boy from the clearing said. The man in the coat didn't respond. He looked the boy over, the torn leg, the hands, the face, with the flat attention of someone taking stock. "You killed a bark wolf," he said, not a question. "Yes." "Alone, no tools, no kit." "Yes." A short silence. Something shifted in the man's expression. Not surprise. Confirmation. "Hit him," he said. One of the scavengers moved immediately. The boy sidestepped, but something cracked into the back of his knee from behind. He hadn't seen the fifth one. He went down on one knee. He reached for the stance, for that space between thought and instinct. The man in the coat raised one hand. A rope of dark energy unwound from his fingers like smoke. It crossed the distance in less than a second and wrapped around the boy's arms and chest, pinning both to his sides. The boy pulled against it. It didn't give. He tried to reach for the fire, that warm place in his chest, and found it, but something in the binding had closed a hand around it too, dulling it. The man crouched down to eye level. "There are rules," he said in a voice that had said this many times before, "about who can work a sight." He let that sit. "You don't look like you know the rules." "I don't know anything," the boy said. "I told them." "I know what you told them." He stood, looked at the scavengers watching, then back at the boy, still on one knee, arms pinned, not looking away. The man's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes did, like he'd just decided something. He nodded to someone behind the boy. Something heavy connected with the back of his head. The forest went dark. He came back to cold. Stone under him. The smell of earth and iron and smoke. Dim light from torches set into rough-cut walls. He was underground, or inside something built to stay hidden. His wrists were in chains. He sat up slowly. His head rang. The chains were real iron, looped through a ring bolted into the stone floor. About a meter of slack, no more. He looked around. He wasn't alone. The space was a wide, low chamber carved out of rock, lit by a line of torches along one wall. Around him, maybe 20 other people, all chained the same way. Most around his age, some younger. All worn down in the same way. Eyes that had learned to stay forward and not ask for anything. Miners. Not by choice. Nobody looked at him when he woke up. Nobody spoke. That told him something about how long they'd been here. He looked down at his wrists. Breathed. Tried to find the fire. It was there. Dim and low. Like an ember under ash. The chains were doing something to it. Not killing it. Keeping it banked. Still his, though. He looked at the chamber. At the other faces. At the single dark corridor disappearing into the rock at the far end. He had no plan, no memory, no name, no idea how he had arrived in a world with scavengers and ruins and people who chained kids to stone floors in underground camps. But the fire was still there, and the warmth from the absorbed particles was still in him too, quiet and steady underneath everything else, like a current that wasn't going anywhere. He closed his eyes. Then it happened. No warning. No build-up. Like a door blown open from the other side. A flash. Not a dream. Not a thought. Something that came from the absorbed warmth itself. Like the particles had been carrying something all along and only now let it out. A room. Stone walls, but different from these. Cleaner, older, carved with care. Torches in the same positions, but brighter. And in the room, standing with their back to him, a figure, tall, dressed in something dark, one hand raised, palm up, a flame in the center of it, small, steady, like his. The figure began to turn. He leaned toward it in his mind, reaching. It cut out. He opened his eyes. Stone ceiling, torch smoke, the quiet sound of people breathing in chains around him. He sat very still. The figure hadn't finished turning. He hadn't seen the face, but the way they'd stood, the angle of the shoulders, the tilt of the neck, had pulled at something in him that had no name yet. Something that said, "You know this person." He looked down at his chained hands. Then he closed one into a fist. He didn't know who had taught him. He didn't know who the figure was. He didn't know how to get out of this chamber, or what waited past that corridor, or how many more fights were between him and any kind of answer. But there was an answer. He knew that now. It was inside him, locked the same way he was. Behind chains he didn't have the right key for yet. Somewhere beneath the iron and the dark, the ember held. He looked up at the torchlight on the ceiling. Not yet, he thought, but getting there.